All right, so it looks like we are all ready to go. Hello, everybody. Today is August 21st, 2026. August 1st, 2026. It is currently about 10:55 in the morning here, and this is the beginning of another practice stream or study stream. And the purpose here is to continue to go through the review of arithmetic and pre-algebra, and also to develop skill and proficiency in Gregg Anniversary shorthand for the purpose of note-taking and being able to capture thought more effectively. If you're interested in any of the links as far as the websites I use, the PDFs that I use, any of that sort of content, it's down below in the description. And the beginning of the stream, probably for the first 45 minutes to an hour, I'm actually going to work on adding some more words to the dictionary, and also updating some of the old terms that need repair. So let's go ahead and get started with that. This is sort of our maintenance work, if you will. So with that being said, let me go ahead and close out OBS here, and I've just compiled a list. I compiled a list of the names of the files, did a search, and there are some words that need to have their names changed. So I've got those pulled up over here, and it has given me a list of file names. Let's see here. For example, it gave me a list of file names that needs to be changed. So let's go to open that up. Okay, so that's all the files total. So let me pull up a terminal here so you can see what I'm looking at. Go over here to OBS and let's add the terminal. Here we go. Application window, Elements of Arithmetic. So terminal here. All right. So I've got the terminal pulled up, and the terminal should be right here. And then let's go ahead and let's go to transform, and we're going to fit to screen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a bash script, or I'm going to actually, this is one application where using something like ChatGPT or using one of your AI tools is extremely useful, and that is the creation of simple scripts with the ability to search through the contents of a directory. In this case, it's the names of the files. For instance, if I list all the files here on terminal, okay, if I go into CD into media and Gregg, okay, and now if I ls, you see here are all the files. Okay, there are about 19,000. In fact, what is it? What's the command? I don't do this enough, but let me go ahead and let's see, command for searching file count in Linux. It's WC if I'm not mistaken. WC with a flag. Yes, you use command piped into find, piped into WC-L. So let's go ahead and do that here. So we have find, and then WC, it's piped into, so the whole thing would be find in the current directory and all of its subdirectories. We have our little code snippet right here, and let's go ahead and add that. So it's find in the current directory, the type is file, and it's piped to the word count with a -L for long. And so that's our total file count, okay? So our file count is 19,794. And if I were to do that all by hand, well, I mean, I created all those files. So it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I don't want to have to do it again. And so as much automation, we do as much automation as we possibly can carry through at a time, okay? So with that, what I'm going to do is I have ChatGPT pulled up over here, and it is giving me it searched through the file name inventory, and it found the words that are uncommon or archaic or the ones that need to be changed, okay? So what I need to do is I need to have it, so what I'm going to do here is, this might be interesting. Let's see. I'm almost wondering if I should maybe show up the prompt, maybe show the prompt form. So if we go over here, this might be interesting, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another window here. So I'm going to resize. I'm going to resize the terminal so that it's half a screen's width, okay? And we'll go back over here to OBS, and let's go ahead. I'm going to make a copy. Can I copy scene? Duplicate. There we go. And this one's going to be called terminal. Okay. All right, so in terminal, we're in terminal here. I can go ahead and get rid of the things that I don't need. For instance, I will need Gregg, but I won't need GIMP. So let me remove that. Yes, I need to remove Inkscape. Yes, I need to remove the screen. Yes, I'm just setting up the terminal or the OBS right now to get the view that I want. I don't need the chat. So we're set, ready to go. I think I have everything that I need. Let me go to terminal, and we're going to go ahead and reset transformation. There we go. So we have our view here, and then our terminal, I'm going to resize. What is it? Command Shift? Nope. Oh. There we go. So let's make it just a little bit smaller so that we can fit everything on the screen, and I don't want it to be full screen. Nope. There we go. How do we get it out of full screen mode? What is that command? App details. I just put it in full screen mode, and I don't need it in full screen mode. Come on. What is that? It's a profiles, preferences. There's preferences. Can we take it out of full screen mode? Profiles, unnamed, general. I don't want full screen. Open new terminals in window mode. In window mode. Let's see if we can do that. We'll close that down. Control in. Control Shift in. There we go. So we have our terminal. Now we have it pulled up. So I'm going to go ahead and close this other version here. And we're going to go back into OBS and open up the terminal. Let's go ahead and set our value, open selector, to the terminal window. And there we go. All right. That's more like it. So that is set there. And over here, we're going to transform this. We're going to reset the transformation. And so we're going to put this value here. So we have our website pulled up over here, the Gregg word lookup. Now, what I'm going to do, because right now I'm going to be using I'm going to be using the LLM ChatGPT in this instance to help craft a script. Okay, I'm going to use it to craft a script to be able to go through. It's going to scan the directory for any files that need to be changed, and it's going to update those names. Okay, so kind of an interesting project. It was one of the ways that I was able to get the names to check for errors in the file names in the first pass. So let's go ahead and do that again. Let me go here to Gregg, and I'm going to add another source, and it's going to be another window capture. Oh, where are we going to have that here? Screen capture, there we go. And add a new screen capture. We're going to add this window here, okay? So this is going to be my view for the ChatGPT window, which I'm going to set up over on this side. And as you see here, we've already done a scan. I did a test of the, hold on, let me make sure that that's showing here. There we go, yeah. So I'm going to set that up over here, and it's going to be behind the window capture. There we go. That is good to go. Let's go ahead and reset it. So what I did already is I scanned the directory for files, okay? And, oh, this needs to be behind terminal. Let's put it right there. Come on. There we go. So what I did is I scanned, come on, trying to get it positioned just right, I tell you. I should just be explaining, and here I am quibbling over the sizing. Oh, come on. Let's put it above terminal, and let's just put it here, and I'll just have to go back and forth between the two windows, maybe minimize it. Okay, that's good enough. We'll call that good for now, okay? So, let me go back over here. What we have here is the file names, okay? These are the errors. These are the spelling error candidates that I definitely need to go in and change the names in the directory, okay? And so what I did is I used a command, okay? You saw it a little earlier. If I go into, so I'm over here in terminal. Hopefully you guys can see that. I think you can. If I use a, let's see, I'm going to go to find media, CD. Oh, I'm in Gregg, that's why. So I'm already in the media file, okay? You remember if I do ls, this lists every single one of the files that are current in the directory, okay? And then we did the little command here where we typed this command, right? Find, type F, and then WCL, okay? And 19,794 file names, okay? So with that being said, what I did is I piped those file names using this command. I have it saved in my directory here. Where was that? ls. There we go. So you see here, I used the list command in the current directory, and I piped it to a direction. I moved back up a couple levels in the directory in order to then put the file name or the files names.txt a little higher in the directory, made it easier for me to identify. And then I uploaded that file that contains all the file names, which is here in the, hold on, am I tracking my, make sure that I'm tracking my cursor. Let me go to properties here, show cursor, good. So over here, let's see, OBS, minimize that. So over here, in the file names.txt, I uploaded that file to ChatGPT. It read through and did a quick read to determine what file names needed to be changed. Okay, what file names needed to be changed that were either misspelled or that are archaic in their form. Okay, so what that means is absence. Okay. I need to go through and I need to either remove some of the names or I need to change some of the names, okay? So we have words such as absence. Absence would need to be changed. Adaptability, Augustus is misspelled, allude, Confederate, so on and so forth, okay? So what that means for me is I would need to create, because it's done its work, right? It has indicated what words need to be changed. And so instead of me having to go in and change all those names, because after all, it is a large language model, it does a pretty good job with things like spelling and things like standardization, then I need to go in and I'm going to create a script that does the changes for me. Okay, so we're going to go in here, file name format errors. There is already an ordinary are immediately beside it. The backslash is certainly a stray. That is correct. So it reviewed some of the problems here. Okay, and what we need to do, it then had words that I did not deliberately flag. So these are words that are that would be in the like the old form, the old form of a word, or the archaic entries, okay? So what I am going to do is I'm going to prompt it and ask it to write a bash script. Write a bash script that changes the names. Let's see here. Write a bash script that changes. There we go. Come on. That changes the names, or actually updates the names would be better. That updates the names of the files to the correct spelling. That updates the names of the files to the correct spelling. Provided as a separate text file. As a separate text file, okay? So let's go ahead and have it generate that script. So like I said, this is where it's really useful to do this sort of small stuff. And then the actual implementation is pretty interesting the way it works. So what we do is we go ahead and go back in here. So it's analyzing ls. So what we'll do is we'll create the we'll actually create the bash script up 2 levels. So we'll go into media ls. I think I have helper scripts, right? Media static templates. No, not yet. So the correction file contains 118, so not bad, verified file name mappings drawn from your uploaded inventory. Put both files in the directory containing the SVG files, then make the script executable. First run a dry run, okay? And it will report things where it should change, okay? If the output looks correct, then it applies the renames, all right? Or point it at the repository directory explicitly, okay? It will never write. The important safety feature is that it will never overwrite an existing SVG, a very important point, where both the typo and the correctly spelled file name already exists. It reports a conflict and leaves both files untouched, okay? So now let's go ahead and rename greggfiles.sh is our file. So if we go ahead and take a look at that, let's see if that pulled up for you. So this is the file name, right? It gives you the usage, the usage layout, and the apply, the mapping, okay? Spelling corrections.txt, the target. It sets the usage, and then it goes through and it remaps, okay? Changes the different file names. Resolve the mapping file to relative to the invocation directory first. So it's a good layout. It does, chat does a pretty good job on bash scripts, okay? Especially for little projects like this. And if you go slowly and you iterate, you can get some really good results. So let's go ahead and download. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna, undo. Let's go back. And I should already be logged in, right? It's not logging me in. Come on. There we go. All right, so let's go back to the previous conversation. Recommend new words. So we go to our previous conversation and we take a look at the clear. Oh, there we go. So now we have a nice setup to work with. Okay, so what we'll do is we need to download the SH scripts, and we need to download the, there we go, so we have rename greggfiles.sh, so I'll just make sure that I put that in the correct directory, and we also need to download the, there we go, exit full screen. I also need to download the corrected words, okay, the spelling corrections. All right, so it gives me the listings right here. You see we have our spelling correction. All right, the format is file name tab new name. Okay, so this would be a tab delineated list. Okay, so this is the example of all the words that need to be changed and updated to their correct value. Okay, so as you see there, these are all the words. This would be called a tab delineated list, or a TDL, right? Or was it it's a CSV, comma separated values. This would be a TSV. A TSV, which would be a tab separated values, a TSV table. Okay, so I'm going to download this listing here, a .txt file and a .sh file. Both files are ready to go. And so now what I need to do is I'm going to go over to my my file system, and I'm going to go to downloads, and I'm just going to copy both those spelling corrections and rename Gregg files. I'm going to cut them and go over to my projects folder. There we go. Projects, Gregg word lookup, and going to go into media and Gregg, and I'm going to paste the files in here. Okay. All right. So they've been pasted, or they are pasted in the actual file. Now, of course, I could just use a file name. In fact, that probably would be the better way to do it. But for now, I'm just going to kind of do it within the file. Okay. So now what I have to do is I'm going to go back to the directory. It contains 118 verified file names. Place both files in the directory. So I'm going to make it executable by typing change mod. That changes the value to make it executable, plus X. And I'm going to rename Gregg. Hold on, let's see here. Oh, let's go into media and Gregg. There we go. And now once we're in here, I have to change mod on that file. So we're going to go change mod plus X, rename underscore Gregg files.sh. Okay, so now it has been executable, or it is executable, and I'm going to do a dry run first, like it says. Okay, just to make sure that it's not overwriting files that it shouldn't be. So we're going to run the shell command. Okay, by the way, just so we can get a sense for what rename Gregg files would look like if you had it laid out using invim. Okay, so we have invim rename underscore Gregg files.sh. Okay, and this here you can see is the layout in invim. Okay. All right, and for a small project like this, it's perfectly fine to use the script, obviously, in more In more advanced projects, you want to move very, very slowly and be very careful, check every step, make sure that nothing's being broken. But for this, it's no problem. So let's go ahead and clear the screen out. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run rename greggfiles.sh. Okay. And this tells me it would rename. It's missing 2 and invalid or 0. Okay. Conflicts were intentionally left untouched. Compare the last 2 SVGs before deleting or replacing the file. Okay. So the summary, it said that these are the ones that it would change. Okay. It would change because there really is no reason why you would want to not have those values. Conflict. So you see in the stages where it's talking about the conflicts. Let's make it a little bit smaller. There we go. Oh. Okay. So in the conflicts, you see this? It gives a listing and it shows which ones it would change. It says destination already exists, so it's skipped. So you see here, it gives a little listing as far as why it wouldn't go ahead and change the name. And this has been caused because I did give the correct name and then I failed to remove the old SVG. So the file name does exist, but what we probably would do for the conflicts is we would simply remove any of the conflicting files, okay? Because as you see, those SVGs are already present in the file, okay? So if the output looks correct, then we'll go ahead and apply, okay? We'll go ahead and apply, and this will give us the updated names. This will give us the updated names of the files. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and clear. And let's go ahead and rerun the script, and let's go ahead and apply. Alright, so it's going to apply, and it renamed. Okay? Renamed, and now if we go ahead and do a dry run, would rename 0, conflicting or missing are 96, which means those are the files that were changed, and there are 22 conflicts. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and get rid of the conflicting files, okay? So we're going to go in here, and we're going to copy. Oh boy, all of the conflicts look like they already exist. So we probably would be able to just do that all at one go. All right. So well, we'll do it piecemeal just so that we're not changing anything. By the way, let's go ahead and check. Let's make sure we go back here, clear, find type, and then we list the word count. We still have, yeah, see the file count never changed, 19,796. So we're good, we're ready to go. And what I need to do is I need to go ahead and I need to go in and I need to remove those conflicts. So let's see here. The conflicts can be removed as the names are already updated. And that's just 24, so not bad at all. Let's go ahead and see what it gives. It might update the bash script to enable us to just set a flag. Okay. Chun 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 chun. We've already done the map. Okay, we've already renamed. So what I need to do is I need to figure out, let's see. Let's modify the script to remove the conflicting file names with a -y, yeah, with a yes command. Single file deletion at a time, that way we can check, okay? Single file deletion at a time. So what it's going to do is it's going to go out and it's going to modify the script so that I can then run the command with a flag, probably to remove conflict. Good, good. All right, nice. So press Y to delete the misspelling, press Enter or N to keep it. The correctly named destination is never overwritten or deleted. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're simply going to we're going to grab the new listing here, which this looks like the old one, right? It looks like the old one, but we'll go ahead and download it and go ahead and place it in the correct directory. Gonna search for that txt file. .txt, and we're gonna remove that. We're gonna remove this, put it in trash. Okay, and then we're going to move this file over here, show our spelling corrections. Okay, and I think we can click and drag from here, put it in spelling corrections.txt. Right, let's go ahead and check and see if it actually went in. Pretty sure it did. Actually, I know I can. I'll go over here to the terminal and we'll clear and we'll search for invim star.txt, and then it will open up anything. Yep, there we go. So it opened up the file that contains the corrections. So we're good there. All right, so let's go ahead and close out, clear, and we exit the full screen here. We downloaded the corrections, and we're going to download the updated rename greggfiles.svg. So same thing, we go back one level to media, and I'm going to go in here to terminal, and I'm going to remove the sh file. So star.sh, it's going to remove anything that is an sh file, and pretty easy, so rm. All right, so the sh file is gone, which means I can then go back over to the directory, and I simply click and drag once I download the sh file. There we go. So I've got my sh file, and I'm going to download it, and then just, it's a simple matter if you click and drag it over to your Gregg file. And then once we're in Gregg, I'm going to modify the file name, right? So I'm going to make it executable. And of course that over here is change mod, right? So we go in here and we go change mod plus X, and we're going to go rename Gregg. Oh, if I can spell correctly myself. rename underscore Gregg files.sh. Okay, so now it has been executable, and use the original correction list containing the conflicts, not the cleaned 96 item version. So we did that already. We downloaded the spelling corrections listing, and now let's go ahead and run the spelling corrections listing. I think we can just do the apply. Let's go ahead and try it. Let's see. Let's try just a dry run and see what happens there. Okay, so you see there are 22 conflicts found, and that is exactly what we expected. The conflicts are because, as you see, I changed the file names. I gave it the correct file name, but I failed to remove the old SVG. So we're simply just going to go through and remove those old names. See that? Like, for instance, Augustus. I did give the dry run, would ask whether to delete Augustus, the incorrect spelling or not. So let's go ahead and do that. And I am going to go one by one. Thankfully, it's only 22 words. And I want to go slowly. That way, I'm just making extra sure that I'm not deleting things unnecessarily. All right, so we have rename files, greggfiles.sh. We hit apply. Okay, and I just type Y in order to determine if it should be changed or not. So in this case, we have absence. We have the correct spelling, absence, already. So I'm going to delete the misspelled source with yes. Same thing with adaptability. It already exists. Yep. It would be adaptability. Good. So yes. Augustus, yes. Allude, yes. Confederate, yes. Contradiction, yes. Conquer, yes. Democrat, yes. Deodorize, yes. Discussion, yes. Aberration, hardship, heterogeneous, or heterogeneous, reliability, representative, yep. Surplus, tangible, unaccustomed, unadulterated, yep. Unauthenticated, yep. Unobtainable, usability. All right, so we're going to clear, and we're going to run that script one more time, this time with a dry run. Okay, and there are no conflicts. There is nothing that it would rename. So we have essentially cleaned up this listing. Okay, now one important thing is that, as with a lot of work with anything that's textual related, is you do need to do multiple runs in order for it to work correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to we've already run the file once, and so what I need to do is first I want to check my file count, and now, yeah, we're sitting right around 19,774, which is what we wanted. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put I'm going to do one more run just for right now. I'm going to do one more run of the file names, upload that to ChatGPT so it can scan through and see if there are any other words that need to be changed, because it's not, like most things, the first iteration is almost never the one that you want. In fact, you really should steer clear of first iterations. So by doing multiple layers of iterations, you get closer and closer to a corpus of words that is actually correctly spelled and more navigable. All right, so what I'm going to do is, that command was the pipe command, and we're going to pipe using, I believe it's this guy right here. We're going to pipe the results of ls. I don't do this command that often. I'm going to go up one directory level. So let's go ahead and print working directory. Okay, and I want to put it in lookup. Okay, I want to put it in the main. I'm going to overwrite the file names.txt, okay? So we're going to copy In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I have that saved in my commands. I simply go back up through my commands. We did the get commands, move. There we go. So you see that? This was the command. Let me go ahead and make this screen full size so you can see this. Hopefully it didn't change it in OBS. Terminal, let's go ahead and move that above screen capture. So you see here, that's the full command. The full command for the terminal is we pipe the command or pipe the results of ls into the directory of filenames.txt, and let's go ahead and hit return. Cannot overwrite existing file. What is that? Isn't that a dash? You can force it with clobber, I think. Is it clobber? I mean, the easiest would be just to remove it. We go back here, cd ls, we can rm file names.txt, go back in cd media and then Gregg. Good. Clear that out. And let's go ahead and rewrite the file names. Okay, so now we have the updated file names, which then means I'm going to go over to my directory here and go back to Gregg word lookup, and we go to filenames.txt. Okay, and this is the new listing, so review and find any new alterations, if any, if needed. All right, so we're going to let it do its thing. And it's just doing a quick search over the file names to confirm that we are dealing with the same source. And then while we're at it, with those alterations to the corpus, I will probably go ahead and, before I do too much, I'll do one more iteration where it's going to check over the words, and then at that point, what I'll do is I will then send the updated corpus to the website. All right. Yep, so the changes were made, which means that we can now search for those words correctly. They're going to appear in the search. Oh, let me go ahead and change my view over here. I just realized I need to resize my terminal. There we go. Firefox, there we go. All right, so it's checking the file names. Ooh. Oh, I think Firefox crashed. Let's go back. Need to add another. Yep, it crashed. So let's go ahead and go back in to open up another session and sign back in. Go to the previous conversation. Hopefully it saved it. Open sidebar, recommend new words, close sidebar. So it was working on the previous form. Let's go ahead and make sure that it rename. I need to change this name here to, there we go. And let's update it to the newest source, open selector, application window, recommend new words, share. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and go back in here. It checked the file names, 118, searched for any changes that may occur. Oh, did it not? There we go. Yep, it's the correct one. So now we go in here. It's reviewing additional spelling corrections. Once again, like I said, this is this right here is one of those cases where having a large language model is really good, because technically speaking, we're not engaging with any sort of knowledge work, right? We're not developing greater understanding by simply looking at a list of words. Now, if we had to memorize the words, or we had to do some sort of work with those words, then obviously, of course, you want to do that. You want to do that work yourself. But in this instance, when we're dealing with a known corpus, right, where there are simply just problems with the particular spellings, maybe some orthographic issues you need to standardize or update, it makes a lot more sense to make these changes using a large language model, because it can easily review, and as you see, it can go through all the different sources and check. So also rejecting several apparent errors that are actually historical technical forms. Adventition is an attested English noun, and antepenult is used in linguistics, so I would leave those alone. So you see, it's very interesting. You actually can understand words more effectively using this approach as well. Really fascinating. All right, so it checked the SVG file normalization, searched files for targeted text patterns, and we're getting close to the ending here. So like I said, I was only going to spend about 45 minutes to an hour on this particular part of the project. You don't want to spend too much time on pruning. You want to actually do the work. And so once it gets to around 2 hours, I'm going to go back to the actual copywork, which is the important part. This part right here is just helping to maintain the website. Oops. So it's going through all of its searches. There we go. So now it gave some more names that need to be changed. Yep, the earlier correction run worked as intended. Compared, it did remove those old SVG names, and the corrected names appeared. Okay, the apparent overall reduction is only 20. Yep, obviously. So it gave some more changes that it would make. Okay, so like I said, the first run, it works, but it needs to add some new ones, okay? So the space to underscore changes matter to the application. Your current normalized word converts user entered spaces into underscores and find SVG file names, then looks for normalized. Thus, a user entered ad valorem causes the program to seek ad valorem, but the directory currently contains the lack of an underscore. It also is same for ex officio, Fireplug, Watchtower, the other. Okay. Now some of these are not necessarily going to be a problem because you remember that the website itself has a phrasal search. And so if you're looking for a particular portion of a word, it will show up. So it's not the end of the world that some of these problems exist. Annuals. Right, so I would consider 23 additional changes safe enough to automate, with another 7 held for visual source verification. Okay. So let's go ahead and ask it to create the new. So we're going to have it create the new automated text. So create the new target list. And once it's done, once it's created the target list, then we'll go through, do that iteration, and then we'll call it good for now and go back to Copywork. Okay. Round 2, so we can go ahead and remove the old txt file before we do this. So we have to download the spelling corrections round 2, and that will update 23 words, as you see here. And that's good enough for right now. Okay. So the spelling corrections round 2.txt has been altered. Let's go ahead and add that to the correct directory. We go to media, and we're going to put this word in here. Boom. Minimize terminal. There we go. So we're going to open up our round2.txt, drop it into Gregg. Okay. And we can then go over to the terminal again. And I'm going to remove the old, well, I'll wait to remove the text files until I've run the command. So let's go back here and let's take a look at the run with command. So we're going to apply and path to media. So let's go ahead. I copied the command for terminal and path to media.gregg. So for that one, we're just going to do, we can copy the first portion of the name, which is up here, Gregg word lookup, that much right there, copy. And we'll just paste it here in front of media to get the full name. Go. Done. That's set. Rename, apply, map, spelling corrections, round2.txt. Should be good, so let's go ahead and run it. There we go. Correct. So we have renamed, so it did all those renames for us, which is very nice. And yes, we do want to delete that. Either with the extra dot, yes, I want to delete that one. And form of, I do want to delete that value as well. Self-contradiction, yes, I do want to delete that. Tendance and tendency already exists, yes. And there we go. So conflicts deleted, conflicts found, and renamed 18. Excellent. So that is pretty much it. We're going to call it for now. Now what I have to do is I need to go ahead and push those changes to the file. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and remove the sh file, rm.sh, right? Rm, the rename underscore So we're going to remove the greggfiles.sh saved in my downloads. So if I ever need it again, I have it available, and we probably would do an updated version later. So we're going to remove the sh file, and I'm also going to remove those two txt files. All right. So now if we run the command, we can see how many files we actually have here. 19,767, which makes sense because we really didn't add any words, we just changed names, okay? So now I'm going to go back to the root directory, and I'm going to use the git command to upload those changed files to the website, okay? And it's probably going to run real slow here for just a second because that was a lot of changes. I think about 100 files that it had to change. All right. So it just it created all those changes for us. What I need to do is I need to remove the that file names. So we're going to remove file names.txt. Okay. And now let's go ahead and check and make sure that there aren't any extra changes that need to occur. Anything that needs to be deleted. Yep, all of those were deleted, so what was the command for use git restore add remove to update what will be committed? This would be to update what will be committed. Your branch, it is up to date. This is remove. Yeah, so we're going to run the command once more, and this one, the reason why it's not working is because we removed files, okay? So we're going to do rm right. Oh, hold on. I just want to make sure. I don't do this enough. I just want to make sure that I'm not doing a command incorrectly. So we're going to copy the output of here, paste it in here, and say correct git command. There we go. Okay. Use get's own path spec by quoting the wildcard. The important part is -a. Oh, capital -a. Okay. So before committing, you can verify with status. You should then see the renamed files represented either as explicit renamed entries, ultimately determines renames from content similarity. So let's go ahead and copy the wildcard. Go over to the terminal. And let's go ahead and grab the 3. So we're going to add, copy the command here. We're going to paste it here. Git add using the -a flag, which is the wildcard, right? it stages additions, modifications, and deletions. Okay. And git commit, correct Gregg outline file names, and git push origin.main. So we should be set, ready to go. Yep. All right, so we are all set. We're clean, ready to go. Git commit, and git push origin. Very nice. So what's the difference between those two commands? Git add and git add -a. Yep, interesting. All right, well, we're done. And now if we update the website, or if we run the website one more time, they can sometimes take a little bit of time to connect. But if we look for Nebraska, there's Nebraska. Okay. What was some of the other ones? Unreliable. I mean, really, it was just a matter of getting the correct spellings, right? So we go Augustus. See that? Augustus, August, Augustly, August number 1. That's perfectly adequate for right now. Okay. So now we can actually go back to the work. So let's go ahead and close down the terminal. Exit. All right, and we can go ahead and close down ChatGPT and go back over here to mathematics. Okay, so let's go ahead and resize everything here. Put this right down there. So we have our Gregg word lookup ready to go. Let's go ahead and make sure we have our other sources pulled up as well. We go to the PDF, open selector, application window, Elements of Arithmetic. We're set there. And go ahead and reposition it so that we're in the center. Remember, this is section 6. We'll close down this file here. Cancel, save, close, quit, good, and close down commands.txt. We don't need that. We have everything else pulled up, ready to go, yeah? Close down this file. Nice. Now we go over to Zernal. And we're going to, we have everything all pulled up, ready to go. Everything is positioned on the screen as it should be. Let's go ahead and upload the new, or create the new Zernal page. Okay. And for that, we're going to save Control-Alt-Shift and create, this is section 6. And this is arithmetic section number 6. Okay. There we go. So we've created section number 6, which means we can go ahead and delete Control-Shift, delete. There we go. Going back through to page number 1. Set. Good. So now we can go ahead and clean up this page, and we're ready to go. Save the page. Now let me display that over here in OBS. Go to Zernal. Filters. No, not filters. Properties. Open selector. Go in here. Add. All right. That's it. Let's go ahead and zoom in. And we start copying. So this is the part. This is the human part. This is the part that no machine can do. There's no automation with this. Simply a matter of you practice, you learn, you get better, and you just keep on plugging away. So we have this all saved, ready to go. Now we're back to human land. Away from the machines, away from the automation, and back to good old practice, okay? So we have our decimal portions pulled up here. This is the new section. Let's go ahead and label it here as section number 6, decimal fractions. Okay, so this is elements of arithmetic, section 6. And 6 here. Page number 1. Yay! All right. Article number 126, by the way, which is really neat. Slowly, what is it? I started copying this last week on Tuesday, right? And we're already 65 pages in. So, hey, not bad, not bad. Little wins. Here we go. Section 6, decimal fractions. Decimal. Ooh. Decimal. That's a new word now. M-L. That does not look right. Something tells me it's much easier. Hey, all right. I'll take that. Not too far off. It just needs the S turned the other way. Okay. Decimal fractions. And this is Article 126. We have seen, according to Article 112 and 121, the necessity of reducing fractions. To a common denominator. In order to compare their magnitudes. Magnitudes. Oh, magnitude, isn't that the, that's MTU underneath. MN TUS. Let's go ahead and confirm that. Yep. In order to confirm their magnitudes. There we go. We have seen also how much more readily operations are performed readily. Oh, that's the ready and then just an E added to the end. Readily. Operations. Oh, operations is, yes, there we go. Operations are performed See if it needs an E or not. Nope. Good. Upon fractions which have the same than upon those which have different. Bad connection. Reconnecting. Now, there we go. Should be good now. Yep. We're back online now. All right. How do you like that? All of that work with the automation, nothing happens, and now I go on to Zernal, and it immediately starts causing trouble. Funny. On this account, isn't account, is it AKT, I think? Let me check that. Yep. On this account, it has long been customary customary. Maybe that's custom. Let's see what customary might be. A disjointed R after that. No, slight modification, just RE. So it's cust for custom. And then, there we go. In all those parts of mathematics, pretty sure mathematics is just KS below the line. No, it does a... Oh, what is that? AS? Interesting. Interesting, okay. Wow. Learn something new every day. So there's mathematics. In all those parts of mathematics where fractions are often required, to use none but such. Let me check none again. Make sure I turned it. Yep, that's the correct way. And then such. Yes, good. Make the CH a little longer. As either have or can be easily reduced to others having the same denominators. Now, of all numbers, those which can be most easily managed manage. Let's see if that's managed. Nope, just MG. Are such as 10, 100, 1000, etc. Where 1 is followed by ciphers. These are called decimal numbers. And a fraction whose denominator is any one of them So we go on, and a fraction whose denominator is any one of them is called a decimal fraction. Check decimal one more time. Yes, there's an E vowel. or more commonly, a decimal. All right, so that was that first article. Let's go ahead and read back over it. Article 126. Okay. Here we go. We have seen, according to Articles 112 and 121, the necessity, and does necessity require two S's? Oh, yep, I was looking at necessary. The necessity of, there we go. Now we'll proceed. The necessity of reducing fractions to a common denominator in order to compare the magnitudes. We have seen also that much more readily, we have seen that much more readily, how much more? There we go. Forgot the dot for the aspirate. There we go. Also, how much more readily operations are performed upon fractions which have the same than upon those which have different denominators. On this account, it has long been what is that? Considered? No. Customary. It has long been customary in all those parts of mathematics where fractions are often required to others to use. Oh, EUs, that's not E. This is to, there we go, to use none but such as either have LBR or can be. That's a little tricky, isn't it? If I'm going to do the R, K, and then B, it has to curve up a little higher. Or can be, like that. Or can be have, or can be easily reduced to others. Having, or reduced to others having. There we go. having the same denominators. Now, of all numbers, those which can be most easily managed are such as 10, 100, 1000, etc. Where, let's make that E just a little smaller, got to work on my standardization, my uniformity. There we go. 1000, etc. Where 1 is followed by where 1, there we go, is followed by ciphers. These there we go. These are called decimal numbers, and a fraction whose denominator is any one of them is called a decimal fraction, or commonly a decimal. Okay, moving on. Article 127. A whole number may be reduced to a decimal fraction or one decimal fraction to another. With the greatest ease. For example, "94 is 940 over 10 94,000, or sorry, 9,400 over 100 or 94,000 over 1,000. According to Article 106. Three-tenths is 30 over 100 or 300 over 1,000. Or 3,000 over 10,000. And that was according to Article 108. the placing of a cipher on the right hand of any number is the same thing as multiplying that number. By 10, according to Article 57, and this may be done as often as we please. In the numerator of a fraction. Providing it be done as often in the denominator. According to 108. Alrighty, let's go ahead and read back over 127, and then we continue. A whole number may be reduced to a decimal fraction, or one decimal fraction to another with the greatest of ease. Or is it just with the greatest ease? With the greatest ease. The greatest ease. For example, 94 can be is 940 over 10, 9,400 over 100, or 94,000 over 1,000, according to Article 106. 3/10 is 30 over 100, or 3,000 over 300 over 1,000, or 3,000 over 10,000, according to Article 108. The placing of, there we go, of a cipher on the right hand of any number is the same as multiplying that number by 10, according to Article 57. And this may be done as often as we please. In the numerator of a fraction, provided it be, let me check provided. Yep, providing, or no, provided I think that would be a disjointed D. So we go provided here. Provided it be done as often in the denominator, according to Article 108. The next question is, how can we reduce a fraction which is not decimal? To another, which is without altering its value. Take, for example, the fraction 7/16. Multiply both the numerator and denominator. Successively. Successively there it is. By 10, 100, 1000, etc., which will give a series of fractions. Each of which is equal to 7/16. According to Article 108, vis-a-vis (70/160), 700 over 1600, 7000 over 16,000, $70,000 over 160,000, etc. the denominator of each of these fractions can be divided, without remainder by 16. The quotients of which divisions form the series of decimal numbers. Ten, 100, 1,000, 10,000, etc. If, therefore, one of the numerators be divisible by 16, the fraction to which that numerator belongs has a numerator and denominator both divisible by 16. When that division has been made, which, according to Article 108, does not alter the value of the fraction, we shall have a fraction whose denominator is one of the series 10 through 1,000, etc. and which is equal in value to 7/16. The question is then reduced to finding the first of the numbers. Those numbers would be 70, 700, and 7,000. Etc., which can be divided by 16. Without remainder. If we then demonstrate those values, which I'm not going to at the moment because that's not the purpose. That's not the purpose of the stream, is to demonstrate the mathematics. It's more the use of Gregg shorthand. So for now, I'm going to skip this portion here and simply say, I'll skip the portion here and say that let's see, for example, consult textbook. We move forward to the next paragraph. It appears then that 70,000 is the first of the numerators which is divisible by 16. But it is not necessary to write down each of these divisions. since it is plain that the last contains all which came before. It will do then to proceed at once. As if the number of ciphers were without end. To stop when the remainder is nothing. And then count the number of ciphers which have been used. In this case, since 70,000 is 16 times 4,375, $70,000 over 160,000 which is 16 times 4,375 all over 16 times 10,000 or 4,375 over 10,000 gives the fraction required. Therefore, to reduce a fraction to a decimal fraction, Annex ciphers to the numerator. And divide by the denominator. Until there is no remainder. The quotient will be the numerator of the required fraction. And the denominator will be the unity, or will be unity. Unity is the disjointed. It's the disjointed form. Followed by as many ciphers as were used in obtaining the quotient. And that is the article. That is 120. That's all of 128. Let's go ahead and read back over. Alrighty, let's go over to the previous section. 128 is what we're looking for. We're also looking for the next question is. There it is. 128. The next question is, how can we reduce a fraction which is in decimal to another which is without, to another which is without altering its fraction, which is not decimal to another which is without altering its value. Take, for example, the fraction 7/16. Multiply both the numerator and denominator successively by 10, 100, 1000, etc., which will give a series of fractions, each of which is equal to 7 over 16, according to Article 108, vis-a-vis 70 over 160, 700 over 1,600, 7,000 over 1,600, 70,000 over 160,000, etc. The denominator of each of these fractions can be divided without remainder by 16, the quotients of which division form the series of decimal numbers 10, 1,000, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, etc. If, therefore, one of the numerators be divisible by 16, the fraction to which that numerator belongs as a numerator and denominator both divisible by 16. In that division, when that division has been made, which, according to Article 108, does not alter the value of the fraction, we shall have, I think so. In which case, we shall have a fraction. So let me go ahead and fix that. That's we shall be. We need we shall have. We shall have. A fraction whose denominator is 1 of the series 10, 100, 1000, etc., and which is equal in value to 7 over 16. The question is then reduced to finding the first of the numbers 70, 700, 7,000, 70,000, etc., which can be divided by 16 without remainder. And then here it said, for the example, consult the textbook, which if we did, we see that here. For the example, consult the textbook, because I wasn't going to write all those numbers out. It appears then that 70,000 is the first of the numerators. The first of the numerators? Yes, in which case that needs to be pluralized. Numerators, which is divisible by 16. But it is not necessary to write down each. Need to straighten up each so it doesn't look like an if. There we go. Each of these divisions, since it is plain that the last, I need to check last, because I know, there's one that tricks me up where it's, what was it, least? Yes, that's last. I think what I'm thinking of, or what I'm confusing it with, is least. Not last, least. Yes, least requires the S and the T. All right, good. So let's continue. Last contains all which came, or all which come before. It will do then to proceed at once as if the number of ciphers we're without, hold on, we're without end. To stop, to stop when, ooh, that's not when. No wonder, I was looking at that and thinking, what's going on there? When the remainder, yeah, this is when. There we go. When the remainder is nothing. And then contain the number and then count. Ooh, let me check count, because is count and contain the same? Ah, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because that's contain, duh. Count, you have to do int first. So we'll go here, do k int. There we go. Count the number of ciphers which have been used in this case. Since 70,000 is 16 times 4,375, 70,000 over 160,000, which is 16 times 4,374 over 16 times 10,000. Yes, yep. Or 4,375 over 10,000 gives the fraction required. Therefore, to reduce a fraction to a decimal fraction, annex, yeah, that's annex. Annex ciphers to the numerator and divide by the denominator until there is no remainder. The quotient will be the numerator of the required fraction, and the denominator will be unity, followed by as many ciphers as were used in obtaining the quotient. Wow. Let me check obtaining. Yep, good. All right, we press on. I'm like the mail service, I never stop. All right, here we go. Or like Captain America, I can do this all day. 129. It will happen in most cases that the annexing of ciphers to the numerator will never make it divisible by the denominator without remainder. For example, try to reduce 1/7 to a decimal fraction. And I'm not going to write that out, but if you see the example, you see that it's irreducible, right? Or you can't switch the base. 1/7 has no decimal fraction equivalent, okay? The quotient here is a continual repetition, so I'm just going to make a note here. Observe the textbook. The quotient here is a continual repetition of the figures. Continual. Let me check continual. Repetition. See if that's it. Not quite. It requires the there we go. Of the figures 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7. In the same order. Therefore, 1/7 cannot be reduced to a decimal fraction. But nevertheless, if we take as a numerator let's take a look at nevertheless. There's nevertheless. NVL. If we take as a numerator any number of figures, from the quotient, one, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7. One, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7, etc. And as a denominator, 1 followed by as many ciphers. as were used in making that part. Of the quotient. We shall get a fraction which differs very little. Let's go check differ. Ah, differ and difference, same form. We also check little. There's little. All I can think of with little is either Stuart Little or Eric Little. Nice association. There we go. Little. And I need to go ahead and add another page below. Elements of Arithmetic. Section 6, page number 4. We shall get a fraction which differs very little from 1/7, also known as approximation, and which will differ still less from it if we put more figures in the numerator. And more ciphers in the denominator. Thus, oh my goodness, I'm not going to copy all that out, but for the example, you can see right there laid out beautifully that the more you add in your numerator, the better approximation you will get. Okay? The more you add, the better your approximation will be. And I will say here, for figure, square brackets, for the worked calculation, let me check the word calculation. Consult textbook. For the worked calculation, consult textbook. In the first column is a series of decimal fractions. column is just KOL, correct? Oh, nope, that's it. Which come nearer and nearer to 1 over 7. Ooh, nearer. Oh, I've never, have I done? I don't think I've ever done nearer before. That's interesting because near should be a case of the N with the backwards R, but nearer, let's take a look. Ah, oh ho ho, look at that. Wow. It's a case of the disjointed R. Nice. Which come nearer and nearer to 1 over 7 as the third column shows. And for that, we can see here, first column, second column, third column. Therefore, though we cannot find a decimal fraction, which is exactly 1 over 7, we can find one which differs from it as little as we please. And that's also known as approximation. Okay? So this may be illustrated thus. I will be right back. All right. Where did I put my glasses? Oh, they're there. Okay. Now we proceed. Down here. We go. Minimize. All right. Move down the line. This may also be illustrated thus. May also be. Illustrated. I don't remember illustrated. Let's check that out. There we go. It is required to reduce 1/7 to a decimal fraction. Without the error of, say, a millionth of a unit. And millionth would be, I don't know if Gregg contains millionth. Let me check. I know million's in there. Oh, there we go. There's millionth. Nice. So we have millionth here, which means we would do 1, say a millionth of a unit, okay? So say a millionth. Might need the full line for that. Mil, and then in, th. Multiply the numerator and denominator of 1/7. By a million. And then divide both by 7. We have then 1/7 being equal to 1 million, right? Yes, 1 million over 7 million. 1, 2, 3, done, good. Which is approximately 142,857. 1, 4. and 1/7 all over 1 million. Right? 1 million or? Yes, yeah. Interesting. If we reject the fraction 1/7 in the numerator, what we reject is really the 7th part of the millionth part of a unit. Oh, that's a funny way to look at that. All right, what we reject is really reject. Reject. Ah, there we go. What we reject is really the 7th part of the millionth part of a unit. Therefore, by approximation, 142,857 over 1 million is the fraction required. Nice. And then we have our exercises here below, but before we do that, let's go ahead and read back over this article, which starts, it's 129. Let's jump back in the pages and find Article 129. Article 129. There it is. It will happen in most cases that the annexing of ciphers to the numerator will never, and never does not contain an E. It's just in V. We check that out. There we go. We'll never make the divisible. We'll never make the what? We'll never make it. We'll never make it divisible by the denominator without remainder. For example, try to, let me check try. Yep. Try to reduce 1 over 7 to a decimal fraction. Observe the, and then the note here was observe the textbook, which this was the value we got. The quotient here is a continual repetition of the figures 1, 4, 2, 8, 5, 7 in the same order. Therefore, 1 over 7 cannot be reduced to a decimal fraction. But, nevertheless, if we take as a numerator any number of figures from the quotient 14285, 14285, seven, 142857, etc., and as a denominator 1, followed by as many ciphers as were used in making that part of the quotient, we shall get a fraction which differs very little from 1 over 7, and which will differ still less from it if we put more figures in the numerator and more ciphers in the denominator. For the worked calculation, consult textbook. In the first column, let's fix column. That looks like a very lazy M. There we go. In the first column is a series of decimal fractions which come nearer and nearer to 1 over 7, as the third column shows. Therefore, though we cannot find a decimal fraction which is exactly 1 over 7, we can find one which differs as little from it as we please. This may also be this may also be illustrated. Yes. This may also be illustrated thus. It is required to reduce 1 over 7 to a decimal fraction without the error of, say, let's make that S just a little bit smaller. Of, say, a millionth of a unit. Multiply the number and multiply the numerator and denominator of 1 over 7 by a million. Let me check a million. Let's make sure I'm not missing any vowels. That's correct. By a million. And then divide both by 7. We have then 1 over 7 equal to 1 million over 7 million, which is 142,857 and 1/7 over 1 million. If we reject the fraction 1 over 7 in the numerator, what we reject is really, let me check really, what we reject is really the seventh part of a millionth part of a unit. Therefore, 1,42857 over 1 million is the fraction required. Very nice. Moving on to our next paragraph. $130. Alrighty, so now we're on 130. The reason for the recurrence and recurrence, I'm going to hazard a guess. Recur. Ents. Let's see if that's correct. It's a little bit more advanced. Of the figures of the quotient in the same order. Is as follows. If 1000, etc. be divided by the number 247, or just if, the remainder at each step of the division is less than 247. Being either 0 or one of the first 247 numbers. Uh, 246. If then the remainder never become nothing, that should be a break there. If by carrying the division far enough, let me check far. One remainder will occur a second time. If possible, let the first 246 remainders be all different. That is, let them be 1, 2, 3, etc. Up to 246. Yeah, up to 246. It must be one of those which have preceded. Hold on, did I miss something? If possible, let the first 246 remainders be all different. That is, let them be 1, 2, 3, etc., up to 246, variously distributed, So, let's see if that's variously. I didn't assume that variously would be in there. Okay, so it doesn't curve back around. You don't need the os ending. There we go. Variously. Variously distributed. Ooh. Distrib, and then... I don't know distributed. I know distrib is, or distra is ds, but I don't know distrib. Distribute. There it, okay, alright, very nice. It's just dstr for the dstr prefix, and then it's the b. And there's time. Alright, very good. Let's at least finish the variously distributed. That's the end. Let's go ahead and finish the article. That should take no more than 2 minutes. As the 247th, as the 247th remainder cannot be so great as 247. It must be one of these which have preceded. And preceded, there we go. from the step where the remainder becomes the step where the remainder becomes the same as a former remainder, it is evident that the former figures of the quotient must be repeated in the same order. And that's it. Excellent. I'll go back. I'll read this when I come back from lunch. All right, very nice. So that was, oh, what did we do? We got through. I was actually checking the description here. So we started on page 65, Article 126, and we got to Article 130, and that was page 68. So 3 pages in 2 hours. Not too bad. So anyway, I'm gonna grab some lunch, and then I'll be back in about 40 minutes to an hour to continue. And we have another 4 hours of streaming to do today in order to meet the 7-hour quota. So thank you very much for watching. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day and you are all accomplishing what you set out to do today. So take care, and I will see you shortly. Bye-bye.